this off camera, but you guys have exposed me in the past. I thought I'd just show my true self.
So you really are evil MrBeast.
Oh, 100%. Fuck Fortnite.
These accusations didn't come from random trolls or bitter haters. They came from people who once admired Jimmy Donaldson, better known as MrBeast, and even worked by his side. The 26-year-old YouTube superstar, praised for years as the ultimate symbol of kindness and generosity, suddenly found himself under a cloud of suspicion. With over 400 million followers across every platform, MrBeast built an empire on jaw-dropping stunts and massive charity projects, handing out cars, houses, and life-changing checks like candy. But behind the flashy giveaways and his saint-like reputation, scandals started creeping in, shaking the foundation of everything he'd worked for. Allegations piled up. A toxic work environment, rigged contests, shady editing, and even questions about the true motives behind his philanthropy. The internet's golden boy was suddenly facing the ugliest trust crisis of his career. And to understand how the poster child for generosity ended up in this storm, we have to rewind. MrBeast began his YouTube grind back in 2012 when he was just 13, posting basic gaming and reaction clips. What set him apart wasn't looks or raw talent. It was his obsession with going bigger, crazier, and wilder than anyone else. By 2017, he'd found his magic formula, dropping money in outrageous ways, giving $10,000 to an Uber driver, buying out entire stores, handing a friend a Lamborghini, spending $1 million in a single day. Each video pushed the limits further and pulled in millions of views. But he didn't stop at giveaways. He leveled up with survival challenges that sounded insane. I lived in a bunker for 50 hours. I was buried alive for 50 hours. I stayed in an empty room for 100 days. Each upload shattered records, backed by million-dollar budgets and a Hollywood-style production crew. Most importantly, he turned generosity into his brand. MrBeast wasn't just about views. He claimed he wanted to change the world. He launched Team Trees, cured blindness for 1,000 people, built wells, and gave away truckloads of food. His message of hope and kindness made him a cultural icon, the internet's philanthropist billionaire. By 2025, he was officially the most followed individual YouTuber worldwide. Hundreds of millions of young fans didn't just watch his videos. They looked up to him as a role model, someone who proved you could be rich, famous, and good all at once. But as his spotlight grew brighter, shadows began to appear, and fans started asking whether MrBeast's story was as pure as they once believed. By late 2023, the cracks in the empire weren't coming from jealous rivals. They came from inside. Former employees stepped forward with shocking claims about what it was really like behind the cameras.
And so when it aired, when the video came out, my friends were like, what happened?
Really? Because you weren't in it?
They had me get eliminated like somewhere in the middle, and I was really proud of myself because I'm not mean and competitive, I just go out there and do my best, and I actually beat other creators who are a lot of male creators who are super competitive. They're very talented. They edited me out somewhere in the middle when really
Leaked accounts painted MrBeast's company as a pressure cooker, non-stop work, brutal deadlines, and anyone who couldn't keep up was tossed aside. One ex-editor revealed, "We weren't allowed to say no. If Jimmy wanted 20 versions of a single shot, we had to do it, even if it meant pulling all-nighters." That didn't sound anything like the kind brother figure image fans had worshipped for years. How could a man who preached helping others create such a ruthless workplace? And worse, why did he brush off the accusations without real fixes? Then came one of the most shocking voices. Rosanna Pansino, a hugely respected YouTuber who competed in MrBeast's creator games. She accused the production of rigging results. According to her, the final video made her look like she placed 5th or 4th, when in reality, she had fought her way into the top 3. Rosanna said she was crushed by how the edit downplayed her effort just to make a more dramatic story. And she wasn't the only one calling foul. She even claimed the final rankings were manipulated. Logan Paul and Zach King were shown in the top 3 while she was erased, even though Logan had actually ranked lower than her. For Rosanna, it wasn't about ego. It was about fairness, recognition, and not being disrespected after putting in real work. The YouTube community was stunned. This wasn't some random critic. This was one of the most credible creators online blowing the whistle on MrBeast's team. If true, it meant the videos weren't just entertainment. They were scripted illusions, sacrificing contestants' reputations for views. And then Ludwig, one of the biggest names in streaming, jumped into the storm. During a live broadcast, he didn't hold back. He flat out called some of MrBeast's practices fake and morally wrong. He specifically slammed the shady sale of hoodies with forged signatures, accusing the Empire of cashing in on fan loyalty with dishonest tactics. But here's the kicker. Ludwig still made it clear he could separate Jimmy the person from Jimmy the CEO. He admitted that off-camera, MrBeast wasn't a monster, but as the head of a multi-million-dollar empire, he was making ruthless decisions that betrayed the trust of fans and creators alike. Ludwig himself admitted he had never worked inside MrBeast's empire, but the stories he heard from ex-employees were enough to make him rethink everything. Then came the gut punch. Ludwig dropped a bombshell about an extremely serious allegation that insiders were whispering about, one so heavy it could shatter the spotless image MrBeast had spent years polishing. His final words cut deep. "I can't support him in any way if that's what he's doing." That wasn't just a withdrawal of support. It was an alarm siren blasting across the internet. The man once celebrated as YouTube's hero was suddenly surrounded by suspicion, doubt, and whispers of scandals, ranging from shady merch and abusive workplaces to ethical red flags that no one could ignore. The truth didn't matter as much as the doubt, and Ludwig had planted it right in the middle of the public's mind. Was MrBeast really the pure-hearted good guy, or was his brand just a flawless mask no one dared question? That question lit a fire online, and the internet started digging hard into his past. It wasn't just Rosanna Pansino and Ludwig anymore. More voices came forward, piling on with their own stories. Matt Turner, one of MrBeast's veteran editors, dropped a shocking 26-minute video.
Okay, top 3 is Larry and Logan Paul and Zach King. They weren't top 3. I beat Logan Paul.
What?
I was top 3, so that was very confusing. So when I'm watching it, they had Logan, Zach King, and Larry be top 3. But Larry fell asleep, so he was disqualified. I followed all the rules, good sportsmanship. I tried really hard, and I was top 3. And so it was so weird to see the video, and they're like, oh, these 3 guys are top 3. And I felt so like, what?
Revealing what it was really like in the Beast studios. He described 18-hour workdays, constant screaming over the tiniest mistakes, and being tossed out without warning. To him, MrBeast wasn't an inspirational leader. He was a ruthless boss with a massive ego and a short fuse, ready to snap at any moment. And Matt wasn't alone. Other former employees, some too scared to show their faces, echoed his words. They described the studio as walking a tightrope, where every single day felt like you could be the next one pushed off the edge. One said it plain, at that place, it's either perfection or you're out. So how did MrBeast respond to this avalanche of accusations? Silence, vague denials, or worse, ignoring it altogether. Instead of facing the controversy, he dropped more massive videos, hoping the spectacle of million-dollar stunts would drown out the noise. But fans weren't fooled anymore. Trust was cracked, and no amount of giveaways could glue it back together. Comment sections turned cold. He only cares about views, not people. This is the cost of growing too fast. Forums, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere lit up with debate. Was the Beast Empire really driven by ambition and creativity? Or was it an exploitative machine hiding behind feel-good content? For many fans, his silence didn't feel like maturity. It felt like a slap in the face. They weren't getting answers, just carefully calculated distractions. And right when people thought it couldn't get worse, the real bombshell hit, and his name was Dogpack 404. Dogpack 404, also known as Dawson French, was a former MrBeast employee who had worked on some of the very videos that made Jimmy a global star. After leaving the team, he hit YouTube swinging with what he called the truth about his ex-boss. He wasn't a household name, but that almost made it worse. His blunt delivery and insider knowledge gave him credibility that fans couldn't just brush aside. It began with cryptic posts on X. In July 2024, he wrote, "Jimmy knows it's time people see the truth. Just 12 words, but enough to spark chaos." Fans and haters alike started speculating, buzzing about what he might reveal. At first, MrBeast's camp brushed it off. dismissing Dogpack 404 as just another bitter ex-employee chasing clout. But Dogpack wasn't chasing clout, he was preparing ammo. And when he teamed up with another ex-employee, Jake Weddle, the shots fired were louder than anyone expected. The two dropped long, detailed videos filled with bold claims and behind-the-scenes secrets. In his first viral upload, "I worked for MrBeast, he's a fraud," Dogpack dropped the hammer. He claimed the entire MrBeast universe, the insane challenges, million-dollar giveaways, and heartwarming stories, wasn't as real as fans believed. According to him, it was a giant stage show, complete with actors, rehearsed scripts, and special effects designed to fool viewers into thinking they were witnessing miracles. Dogpack 404 didn't just throw shade. He went nuclear with a list of accusations so specific, fans couldn't just ignore them. He claimed some of the most jaw-dropping stunts in MrBeast's videos, crushing a Lamborghini, building an entire city from scratch, weren't even real. According to him, they were low-budget CGI shots, carefully edited to fool millions of viewers into thinking they were watching impossible feats come to life. He slammed these spectacles as pure theater, hyped up as once-in-a-lifetime challenges, when in reality, they were scripted illusions meant to shock the audience into blind loyalty. But that was only the beginning. One of his heaviest claims? The so-called lucky contestants walking away with huge prizes, cash, cars, even houses, weren't always random fans. Dogpack 404 alleged that many of these winners were actually insiders, friends, relatives, or even MrBeast's own employees. He pointed to examples like the viral 100 Boys vs. 100 Girls video, where several contestants were secretly connected to the crew. To viewers, it looked like pure fairness. But according to him, the results were pre-rigged to boost Jimmy's image as the ultimate giver. Then came the most dangerous accusation yet. Dogpack said MrBeast was essentially running illegal lotteries. He called out merch drops where t-shirts and hoodies were advertised as signed or offering secret cash prizes. But he claimed those signatures were forged, and the whole setup was nothing more than gambling aimed at kids desperate for rewards.
How he covered up like sexual assault at the workplace, which is by far the most severe claim that has yet to come out, that will come out. And he'll have to make a reply to that too. But I won't be able to support him. I won't support him in any way, shape, or form if that's what he does. Because I think he needs to reply specifically to why he hired a sex offender. Like, how did that happen? That's a crazy thing to do with a guy who runs a channel that is primarily targeted towards children.
If true, that wasn't just shady. It was flat out criminal. And Dogpack wasn't done. On August 8th, 2024, he dropped a second video that went viral overnight. "I worked for MrBeast, he's a sociopath." It racked up more than 4 million views in less than 24 hours. This time, he wasn't just showing receipts, he was dragging in backup. Sitting beside him was Jake Weddle, another former employee who had even acted in MrBeast's productions. Together, they painted a chilling picture of what life behind the cameras was really like. Jake's words hit like a gut punch. He compared MrBeast's workplace to a modern-day cult where total loyalty to Jimmy Donaldson was demanded. "We were told nonstop, this is MrBeast, he's changing the world." But the truth? He was turning our world into hell. According to Jake, employees worked insane hours, weren't allowed to complain, and lived under the constant threat of being isolated or cut if they pushed back. Then came an even darker claim. Dogpack and Jake alleged that MrBeast knowingly kept on an employee nicknamed Delaware, despite whispers about a criminal past tied to sexual offenses. Jake said this person was shielded because they brought value to the productions. As long as you brought value, you were protected, Jake claimed. Harassment and emotional abuse, he said, were ignored if the abuser could help deliver a viral video. It didn't stop there. Jake revealed that employees were pressured into faking smiles and boundless enthusiasm, even when they were exhausted, miserable, or completely burnt out. Dogpack piled on, accusing Jimmy of surrounding himself only with yes men and treating any dissent like betrayal. It was a system built on fear, manipulation, and silence. The fallout was immediate and explosive. Social media caught fire as hashtags like #MrBeast exposed and #Dogpack 404 stormed across X and Reddit. Fans flooded the comment sections with outrage, disbelief, and heartbreak. One Reddit user summed up the mood perfectly. If even 5% of what Dogpack404 says is true, MrBeast needs to be investigated immediately. The allegations of protecting an employee with a criminal past and running a studio built on fear left millions of fans shaken. For people who once saw Jimmy Donaldson as YouTube's angel of generosity, it felt like a brutal betrayal. The man they thought was saving the world was now being painted as someone who destroyed the lives closest to him, all for the sake of views. MrBeast's response to the exposés only added gasoline to the fire. At first, he and his team brushed everything off, calling the accusations fabricated lies cooked up by haters desperate to tear him down. But the problem, Dogpack404 wouldn't stop. He kept dropping video after video, a third, a fourth, and more, each one backed with receipts that got harder to ignore. From shady contracts and manipulated footage to leaked internal messages, the puzzle pieces started forming a disturbing picture. What once looked like petty jealousy from Rosanna, Ludwig, and Matt Turner now started to feel like a united chorus. The narrative shifted. MrBeast wasn't just a flawed creator. He was being painted as a cold, controlling mastermind willing to sacrifice anyone to keep his perfect YouTube image alive. The hero of YouTube was now being called something darker, YouTube's greatest con artist. The mood online wasn't just anger anymore, it was confusion, disappointment, and doubt. Millions of fans who once idolized him began asking themselves tough questions. Were they supporting a man who truly wanted to help the world, or had they been fueling a slick businessman who turned kindness into a billion-dollar brand? And the fallout was undeniable. His videos still pulled monster numbers, hundreds of millions of views, but the dislike ratios spiked, and the comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Fans who once flooded his uploads with love now filled them with icy accusations like, "He only cares about numbers," and "This isn't kindness, it's a business model." The bigger problem? MrBeast didn't give fans the kind of response they were waiting for. Instead of sitting down for a raw apology or addressing each claim directly, he leaned on excuses, throwing stats around like shields. His message boiled down to, "If I'm helping millions, does it really matter how I do it?" That defense only fueled his critics, who argued he'd become less of a philanthropist and more of a ruthless content machine. But here's the twist. Jimmy Donaldson didn't stay totally silent. He just took a different route, one quieter and more deliberate. Instead of teary confessions or Twitter rants, he moved behind the scenes. He hired an independent law firm, known for reforming media giants, to dig deep into his company's culture. Dozens of anonymous interviews with staff were conducted, and sweeping changes followed, limiting endless reshoots, easing the brutal production schedules, and appointing a brand new HR director with a reputation for protecting workers, not exploiting them. And that wasn't all. On the charity side, he started proving his impact with receipts. Team Trees, Team Seas, and his other projects began releasing detailed financial reports so fans could track every single dollar. In one of his boldest moves yet, he funded the building of 100 homes for struggling families. But here's the key detail. No reaction shots, no emotional interviews, no clickbait thumbnails, just drone footage and stats. A subtle way of saying, this is for them, not for views. To some, this looked like a man finally learning accountability, not with words, but with action. But the irony, his quiet approach meant much of the internet didn't even notice. Many dismissed it as nothing more than brand protection, a desperate attempt to polish up a tarnished halo. Still, his longtime followers saw a different story. Not a con artist, but a young man being forced to grow up under the harshest spotlight possible. They saw someone wrestling to protect the most valuable thing in the digital age, trust. But here's the brutal truth. Once trust cracks, it's nearly impossible to fully repair. This saga isn't just a warning for YouTubers or celebrities. It's a chilling lesson for everyone living in the online world, where reputations can be built in an instant and shattered just as fast. We live in an age where one viral post can make you a hero today and an outcast tomorrow. A single tweet, an expose video, or even a half-verified claim is enough to drag someone from the heavens straight into the abyss. And when it's someone like MrBeast, once hailed as the symbol of kindness, generosity, and inspiration, the world doesn't just watch, it sharpens the knives. The real question isn't only did he mess up, but what do we expect from someone we place on a pedestal? Here's the reality. No matter how much good he's done, one mistake, one shady detail, or even one unanswered question is enough for millions to slap labels on him. Fake, manipulative, profiting off kindness. And maybe that's fair. Skepticism is necessary when someone wields that much power and influence. But skepticism doesn't always have to mean total rejection. Criticism isn't the same as destruction. Fans and critics alike have the right to ask questions, and MrBeast has a responsibility to answer them. Not with excuses or flashy distractions, but with transparency, honesty, and reform that proves he's listening. Because the truth is simple. Nobody is immune to scrutiny, not even MrBeast. But on the flip side, the public can't play judge, jury, and executioner without being open to hearing both sides fully. For young people, this entire saga is a wake-up call. Doing good in today's world isn't enough. You have to accept the reality that your actions will be dissected, twisted, and examined under the harshest microscope. But that shouldn't stop anyone from trying to do good. It just means you've got to move with awareness, courage, and accountability every step of the way. And for parents, maybe the answer isn't banning kids from watching MrBeast or labeling every celebrity as dangerous. Maybe it's about having tougher conversations. What does kindness really mean? When is it real? And when is it just for show? How do you spot the difference between genuine generosity and a performance for the cameras? Because out of that uncertainty might come a generation that isn't just obsessed with making content, but with actually living kindly in a world where kindness itself is doubted. In the end, MrBeast might be innocent, guilty, or something far more complicated. A man caught between good intentions and bad decisions. But the bigger question is about us. How we react to him reveals how we define morality, accountability, and trust in this era where every move is public and every flaw is magnified. So ask yourself this: are we losing the ability to see the difference between someone who makes mistakes and someone who's truly malicious? Or are we demanding perfection from others because deep down, we don't even know who to trust anymore? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. And if you want to stay on top of every twist, every controversy, and every revelation, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button so you never miss what comes next.